In this video, we're going to build a Power BI HR Analytics dashboard step by step. So here we have a Power BI HR Analytics dashboard for a company, a telecom company called Skywave Communications, where we have this dashboard showing a lot of metrics here. So we have the number of employees, the goal achievement percentage, the surveys, the engagement percentage, the employee NPS score, employee satisfaction score, how many employees were terminated, and the attrition percentage. And we have some charts here showing different metrics as well, or KPIs, and giving us some insights. And as you can see here, we have a menu button on the left that if we click on, you can see here that it opens up a menu, a slicers menu here that has some slicers. We have also a clear filters button, which clears all the filters here on our slicers. And also we have a close button to close this menu. Here also on the terminated employees chart here, we have a tooltip that shows us the employees who were actually terminated. So here on the field operations department, we have 2 employees terminated, and just hovering over the portion of the female employees here in the chart shows us the 2 female employees from the field operations department that were terminated. So we're gonna learn how to build that as well. So if you'd like to thrive in the competitive field of data analytics and add one more Power BI project to your portfolio, then make sure to download the project files from the link down below and grab your laptop and a cup of coffee and follow along with me step by step while building this dashboard. And if you'd like to get the completed template or PBX file for this dashboard along with the PBIX files for the previous dashboards that I have built on the channel, then you can join my Power BI Dashboards Mastery course, where you will learn everything that you need to know in order to build great looking and informative and insightful dashboards in Power BI. So you'll learn importing and transforming data, data modeling, you'll learn DAX, the calculate function, data visualization, building dashboards step by step, and also sharing your reports to the Power BI service. So learn all that in the course. The course is still currently under construction, so I'm still adding more content and value to the course. However, the course at the moment is at its lowest price, and the course's price will be increased gradually as more content and value is added. So the best time to grab the course at the lowest price and greatest value is right now. All right, so we'll be starting to build this dashboard step by step soon. But before we start, if you're finding value in my content, I'd really appreciate if you'd like and share the video and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with all future videos. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we're going to start from a clean slate here. We're going to open a new blank report in Power BI, and we're going to start first by importing our data. So we're going to go to get data, and our data is in some CSV files. So choose text/CSV, and we'll navigate to the folder containing our data. And the first table that we're going to import is the employees table. So I'm just going to click on it and click on open, or you can also double click as well to load the employees table using Power Query. And now it's being loaded to Power Query here. So we're going to click on transform data to inspect the data further and do further transformations. And as you can see here, we have the employee ID here as an integer, the full name as a text, the gender is a text, and then date of birth is a text, which it shouldn't, because it should be a date. So if we're trying to change it to a date, as you can see here, we'll be prompted to either add this data type conversion step as a new step, or replace the current step that's been added by default here. This change type step has been added by default by Power Query. It's actually better if you add it as a new step, because if you add it as a new step, so there will be one more step here, and there's a problem with the step. You can just remove that extra step instead of removing that step that actually contains some other data type changes as well that have been done automatically by Power Query. So I'll add that as a new step. And as you can see here, we have some errors. That's no problem, because I can actually remove the extra step without affecting the previously implemented data type changing steps. And then I'll actually right click and I'll change type using locale. And as you can see here, the dates are in the international format, so day, month, year. So I'm actually going to choose to change it to a date data type, and using the locale of English UK or United Kingdom. So I'll choose that and then click OK. And as you can see here, this solves my problem. My data type has been changed successfully. You can see here, department is a text, so leave that. The hiring date is a date, but it's actually a text data type at the moment. But we can also change it using the same way. So right click, change type using locale. We'll change that to a date with the locale being English United Kingdom. So we'll do that and we'll click OK. And now this has been changed. We'll do also the termination date. We'll do it the same way. So change type using locale. We'll make it a date and we'll make it English UK. And we'll click OK. Also, we have the manager ID and the title. As you can see here, so the manager ID is an integer. We'll leave it as that, and the title is a text, and we'll leave it as that. All right, so now we've imported the first table here, which is the employees table. All right, so now that we've imported the employees table, let's import one more table here. So right click here and click on new query, and then from a text/CSV, and let's import the action types table that shows the different actions that have been taken on the transactions table. So there's an action type key and an action type name. So I click OK, and as you can see here, that's a straightforward table. And as you can see, there are no data type changes needed. The data types have been detected correctly. Now let's import the next table here. So we're going to right click, new query, and from text CSV, and the next table is going to be the benefits table. So we'll double click on that to import it. So we'll just click OK here, and as you can see here, we've been able to import that table as well, which is one of our dimension tables. All right, so now let's import the next one. And so we're going to go new query from text CSV, and here we're going to import the goal achievement fact table. So we're going to start with that one. So this is one of our fact tables. So the previously imported tables were dimension tables. This is a fact table that shows, for each employee, how many goals were achieved and what were the total goals, and it has some dates as well. So we'll click OK for that to import it, and as you can see here, all the data types have been detected as well correctly, so there is no need to make any changes. So this is goal achievement fact table, so just keep it like that. It's a good name. All right, so now let's import the next table, which is the surveys fact table. So we're going to import that. So let's just double click here. So it's from a CSV file, and we're going to click OK. And as you can see here, there is some work to do when it comes to a data type conversion. So the survey date, as you can see here, is a text. We're actually going to right click and do a change type using locale, because we're going to learn from importing the previous tables, and we're going to change that to a date using the English UK locale, because as you can see here, the dates are in the day, month, year form here. And we're going to click OK. So that's been converted successfully. Let's just make a quick check on the other columns here. We have some columns as well to calculate the engagement, and we'll delve into that later on in the video. And we have our ESAT score and our EMPS score. So each line here in the table is a survey. You can see here it has a survey ID. So each row is a survey here. All right, so now let's import the next table. So right click, new query, and from a text CSV as well. And our next table is going to be the transactions fact table. So we're going to double click on that here to start importing it, and we're going to click OK. And as you can see here, we managed to import that table, but we're going to have some work to do with regards to data type changes. You can see here, this is the date of the transaction. It's currently a text, so we need to do the same here. Right click, change type using locale. And as you can see, because the dates are in day, month, year format, we're gonna do English UK, because it's known for the day, month, year, and the UK is known for the day, month, year format. So we're gonna click OK. As you can see here, now it's identified it as a date correctly. We have the action type key, which links it to the action type here, and the benefit ID, which links it to the benefits table, the salary, the hours worked, training hours, and absent whether the employee was absent or not. We haven't calculated absenteeism, but we could do that like by extending the dashboard. So now, as you can see here, we've imported our transactions fact table. All right, so the final table that we're going to create here is the calendar table. So to create the calendar table, I'm going to right click here, new query from a blank query. So we're going to create a query from a blank query here. We're going to go to the view tab and go to the advanced editor. We're going to delete everything, and I'm going to paste this line of code here, which I've shown multiple times. So this line of code here, it creates a list of dates from a starting date. So our starting date will be between from the 1st of January 2014, because this is the time span for, or this is the starting date for the time span of our data, or for the date span for our data. And then the duration.days will be between the end of 2024, so the 31st of December 2024, and the beginning of 2014 as well. So I've got like 10 years of data, or 11 years of data here. All right, so what this formula does, as I explained on the previous dashboard videos, is that it creates you a list of dates. So for this list of dates, there's a starting point, which is so your list of dates will start on the 1st of January 2014. And this duration.days function, what it does is that it will basically add a number of items to the list. This number of items will be the difference between the 31st of December 2024 and the 1st of January 2014, and then there's going to be an extra day added here. So this is why there's a +1 here. This extra day is because if you get the difference between the starting the ending date and the ending date and the starting date, you will just arrive at your list of dates missing 1 day. So you'll go all the way until the 30th of December 2024, not the 31st. This is why we're adding an extra day here. And then this duration function, what it does is that it determines how many days are between each item in the list and the next item. So it's days, hours, minutes, seconds. So it's just, there's only 1 day, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. So this is what it is here with this formula. So if you click on done, this will create a list of dates, as I told you, between the 1st of January 2014 and the 31st of December 2024. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to select this list, and we're going to go to transform here, and we're going to click on to tables. So this will transform the list to a table. So now we have a table of dates that has a single column. We're just going to rename this column here by double clicking on it to date, because this is our date column on the calendar table, and we'll convert it to a date data type, and this will be done easily here. And now we're going to start adding more columns to the table. So we're going to start by, so we're going to select the date column here, and we're going to go to add column, date, and we're going to add a year column. So now, as you can see here, we've added a column that shows us what the year is for that date, and then we're going to add one more column here. So select the date column, date, and go to month here. So this will add the month number. So this column is the month number. I'm just going to double click and rename this column here to the month number, and we're going to select the date column again, go to add column, date, and we're going to also add the name of the month. So as you can see here, now we've added the name of the month, January, February, etc. However, as you can see here, the name of the month is in the long form. So most people actually prefer it in the shorter form because it takes less space on the visuals. So we're going to select that column here, and instead of going to the add column, we're going to go to transform, because we don't need the long form. We just want to shorten it. So we're going to extract the first 3 characters. So extract first characters, and we're going to tell it to extract the first 3 characters, and we're going to click OK. And now, as you can see here, we managed to extract the first 3 characters. So we have Jan, Feb, Mar, etc. Now let's click again on the date column here, and we're going to go to add column, date, and we're going to add the quarter of the year. So as you can see here, we managed to add the quarter of the year here, but now it says 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, which is how most people prefer it. So we're going to do a transformation on this one as well. We're going to select the quarter column, and we're going to go to transform, And we're also gonna go to format, and we're gonna add a prefix, and this prefix is gonna be a capital Q letter, and we're gonna click OK here. So now, as you can see here, we transformed it into Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And we're going to click again on the date and add another column here. I'm going to go to date, and let's add the week of the year here. So this will add the week number of the year. However, this week number of the year, if we click here on this step, so we have a step here added for inserting the week of the year. If we click on this gear icon, you can see here that it's added a week number, but what day of the week starts will depend on the locale of your machine. So in order to make that explicit, we can add actually another input here to the date.weekofyear function that we have here, which is the first day of the week. So this is a second input. This is an optional input. So in order to, for example, make it explicitly work as the starting day of the week being Monday, so we're gonna type day.monday, for example, so that the first day of the week or the starting day of the week is Monday, and this will run the same on all the machines. So if you click OK here, this will transform it, and we're gonna make it a whole number because the week number should be a whole number. It's an integer between 1 and 52 or 53. All right, so let's add another column here. So we're gonna click on date, we're gonna go to add column, date, and we're gonna add the name of the day. So as you can see here, we have the name of the day, Saturday, Sunday, etc., but it's in the long form, but we know now how to shorten it. So we're gonna select it and then go to transform and then extract first characters. We're going to extract the first 3 characters and click OK, and this will shorten it to the short form. All right, so now we've added a decent amount of columns to our calendar table. We can always add more later if we want to, but for now, this will suffice. So now we're just going to rename this query here to calendar. So I'm going to double click on the name of the query and rename it to calendar. And now, as you can see here, we're ready to click on close and apply here and basically put all these tables in the data model. So we're going to click on close and apply, and this will import all our tables to our data model here. So as you can see here, it's loading, our tables are being loaded to the data model. And now, as you can see here, if we click on the model view, you can see here that our tables have been imported to the data model, and there are some automatic relationships that have been attempted to be created, but we're actually going to create the relationships again ourselves. So next, we're going to work on the relationships between our different tables. But before constructing our relationships and adjusting our relationships, we're actually going to save the file because it's currently untitled and it's not saved anywhere. So I'm going to click on File and then Save As, and then browse this device here, and this will browse our device. So we're going to browse to the destination where we want to save our file here. So I'm actually going to save it inside the filming folder here, and I'm going to call it Power BI HR dashboard step by step. So this is going to be the name of our file here that we're going to work on, and we're going to click on save. So now our file has been saved and all our work or our progress has been saved. All right, so now we're going to start creating the relationships between our tables. So as you can see here, Power BI has created some relationships automatically, but we're going to remove all these relationships and connect our tables ourselves. So I'm just going to click on each relationship and press delete on my keyboard to remove that relationship. So click and then press delete on the keyboard. I'll just keep doing that until I remove all the relationships. All right, so we've removed all the relationships, and usually a good practice is to lay the dimension tables at the top and the fact tables at the bottom. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm putting the fact tables at the bottom and the dimension tables at the top, as you can see here. All right. So I'm going to start first. I'm going to start connecting from the calendar table. So I'll connect the calendar table here to the survey date, the date to the survey date. And now it's been connected. I'll also connect the date here on the goal achievement table to the date on the calendar table. I'll do that as well for the date on the transactions fact table as well. All right, and then on the employees table here, I'll connect the employee ID to these tables here. So we have the employee ID here on the transactions table, also the employee ID on the goal achievement table, and the employee ID as well on the surveys table. All right. And also for the benefits table here, so the benefits table can be connected to the transactions table here. And actually that's it for the benefits table. And then for the action types table, I can also connect it to the transactions table. All right, through the action type key column. So as you can see here, now we have created the relationships correctly. The next step is to declare our calendar table or set it as a date table. So we're going to right click here on the calendar table, and then we're going to mark it as a date table. So we're going to mark that as a date table, and we're going to select our date column, which is the date, and click on save. And that's it. Now we've created the relationships and set our calendar table as our date table. All right, so now that we built our data model, let's start setting up the theme, the color theme for our dashboard. And for the color theme, I used ChatGPT to suggest me a good color theme for a telecom company. Remember, our company is a telecom company. So what I did is that I gave ChatGPT a very simple prompt, nothing fancy, nothing complicated. So I asked ChatGPT to suggest me a good color theme, 3 or 4 colors for a telecom company, and the colors should be complementing each other to look good on a Power BI dashboard. So a very simple prompt, and what I got from ChatGPT was this color theme here. So I actually got these 4 colors here, and then I actually also asked ChatGPT to give me a green and a yellow and a red. So it's something standard that I do to have a green and a yellow and a red color, or a tint of green and a tint of yellow and a tint of red to use for conditional formatting if I'm going to do conditional formatting on the dashboard. In our dashboard, actually, we haven't done any conditional formatting, but still I'd like to have a tint of green and a tint of yellow and a tint of red for if I ever have to do conditional formatting. Also, usually you don't need to create a color palette, because usually when we're creating a dashboard for a company, they have their own color palette in a PowerPoint file or a PDF file. So they usually send that to you, and then you just need to create the dashboard with that particular color palette. So usually you don't need to figure out what the color palette would be. But in our case, because this is a fake dashboard, it's an imaginary thing, so I have to create everything from scratch. So this is why I'm creating a color palette for our dashboard so as to look good. All right, so now let's apply our color theme. So to do that, we're going to go to the View tab here, and then click on this arrow and click on Customize Current Theme. And then the name of the theme that we're going to create is going to be in the name of our telecom company. So the name of our telecom company is Skywave Communications. So we're just going to name the theme that way. And then as you can see here, here is my PowerPoint file that contains my color theme. All right. And I actually use the Microsoft Power Toys app to extract the colors. And I've explained that before. So if you download the Microsoft Power Toys app and then press Windows Shift C on your keyboard, you can just click on any color and get its hex code. And then you go here and just after copying it, you paste the hex code. So this is what I do in order to get the colors quickly and efficiently here to capture them. So as you can see here, I'm just capturing the hex code like this and putting it here as part of my color theme. So here's the 3rd color here, and then here's the 4th color. So my theme only has 4 colors mainly, but you can add more colors if you want to. And then we'll add the positive, negative, and neutral. So these are the sentiment colors that I told you about. If you need to ever apply conditional formatting, you should have the sentiment colors, so a tint of green and a tint of yellow and a tint of red. All right, so this is what we're doing here. We're just applying these. So as I told you, after downloading the Power Toys application, Windows Shift C, and I have a link to download the Power Toys application down below in the description if you'd like to download it, and I've explained it on my previous dashboard videos as well. All right, so now we're going to click apply here, and this will apply our color theme. So this will make it easy to grab our colors, or the colors of our color theme, because you'll see them everywhere. When you try to apply any colors, you see them as your first choice. So this helps make the dashboard color theme consistent and helps make your dashboard look good. All right, so now after importing our color theme, we're going to start creating our measures here. So we're going to create measures to do calculations, for example, in this KPI card at the top. So we have the number of employees, and this is basically the number of active employees, the goal achievement percentage here, the surveys, number of surveys, the engagement percentage, the NPS score, ESET score, terminated employees, and also the attrition percentage. So we're going to start creating measures for all these, but a good practice when creating measures is to create a separate table to host those measures. It doesn't affect the performance, doesn't affect the calculations. It's just something to make everything neat here on your report or dashboard. Make your measures in a separate tables, so that it's easy to find them. So to create a new table here, we're gonna, under the home tab, we're gonna click on enter data, and we're gonna create a new table here called measures, or underscore measures actually. And this underscore basically allows us to allows this table to have alphabetical precedence, and it allows it to float on top of all the other tables all the time. So if we click on load here, you'll see that our measures table will be created and it will float on top of all the other tables. As you can see here, it's on top. All right, so now we've created our measures table. Now let's start creating our measures. All right, so now we're gonna start creating our measures here after creating the measures table. So the first measure we're going to create is the number of employees, which is basically the number of active employees. But in order to create that measure, if we take a quick look at the employees table, the employees table has a record of all the employees, even the ones who have been resigned or have been terminated. The reason for termination is not mentioned, so termination means either resigned or terminated or laid off or whatever. It's just left the job for whatever reason. So the employees table contains all the employees, a record of all the employees, even the ones that have been terminated. So first, we're going to create a simple measure that is going to be the number of employees counted from the employees table. Okay, it's just it just counts the rows of the employees table, right? Because each row represents an employee. So number of employees here, I'm just gonna put employees table here between bracket, just to know that this is, counted from the employees table. And it's a very simple measure, which is by counting the rows of the employees table. Okay, so this is the number of employees, whether they are still active or terminated, whatever, as long as they exist in the employees table, they are going to be part of that calculation. So if we press enter, you can see here now we have this measure here that is called number of employees here from the employees table. All right, so now we're gonna create another measure, which is the number of active employees. So for the number of active employees, I'm just gonna copy it here from the finished dashboard so as not to consume time in writing it, and I'm gonna explain it to you. So as you can see here, first, we're going to get what the maximum date in the current filter context is. So the maximum date selected on the slicers that are going to exist here, for example. And then we're going to calculate the number of employees from the employees table. So basically how many rows are in the employees table where the termination date is greater than the maximum date, so that, the employees have not been terminated yet. So whether either the termination date is greater than the maximum date. So let's actually just put that in on a new line here. Here's the condition: the termination date is greater than the maximum date. So this means that the employee had not been resigned yet or had not been terminated yet. So that's one condition here. And then the second condition is that is also if the termination date is blank. So there's no termination date, the employee, was still active. So whether the employee at that point, at the point of the maximum date in the filter context, had still had a termination date in the future, so it still had not been terminated yet, or his termination date was blank, so he's never been terminated, basically. So in either cases, in either cases, the employee is active. So in this case, the employee is active, and also in this case, the employee is active. And this is basically what this measure is doing. So I'm just gonna press enter here, and this will create this active employees measure here. All right, so next we're going to create another measure here, which is the goals percentage, or this is the goals achievement percentage. So to create that measure, we have here on the goal achievement fact table, we have a date column, employee ID, and we have number of goals achieved. So the goals achieved is basically a number, it's a whole number, and then the total goals. So in order to get the percentage of goals achieved, we're gonna divide the goals achieved by the total goals. But let's first create a measure for each of the goals achieved and the total goals. So we're gonna first start by total goals achieved, or we can call it also goals achieved. All right, so total goals achieved is equal to the sum of the goals achieved column on the goal achievement fact table, right? So this is going to be our total goals achieved, and then we're going to also create another measure here for the total goals, which is going to be the sum of the goals table, the goals column. It's not actually the goals achieved, it's the total goals column, actually, the total goals column on the goals achievement table. All right, so this is going to be also our total goals measure. And then we're going to create the goals achievement percentage, or goals achieved percentage measure. So goals achieved percentage measure is going to be equal to, by dividing the total goals measure by the goals achieved, or the total, it's actually the total goals achieved measure by the total goals measure. So by dividing the total goals achieved measure by the total goals measure, this is going to give us the goals achieved percentage. So as you can see here, we managed to create our goals achieved measure, which we're going to also add on our KPI card. All right, so next we're going to create another measure, which is the number of surveys measure. So the number of surveys measure here is simply going to be the number of rows in the surveys fact table, because on the surveys fact table, if we check it here, each row represents a survey on this surveys fact table. So so by counting the number of rows, we're just going to count the number of surveys. It's as simple as that. This is what we're going to do here. We're going to create a new measure, which is going to be the number of surveys. And this is going to be equal to the count rows of the surveys table, surveys fact table. All right, so this is going to be our number of surveys measure. All right, so we've created a bunch of measures. So let's actually organize our measures a bit. So we'll put them in folders under the measures table. So to do that, I'm actually going to put, for example, the active employees measure here under a folder called attrition, because this will be used in the attrition calculations. This measure will be used in the attrition calculations. So what we need to do is to go to the model view, and then we're going to go here, select the active employees measure, and then under the display folder, we're going to put it under a folder called attrition. And if you need to create subfolders, then you need to put a backslash and then create the next folder in the path, basically. This is how you can create subfolders as well. But I'm just going to put it under a folder called attrition here. And as you can see here now, it's been put under a folder called Attrition. Also for the goals achieved and total goals achieved here, for the goals achieved, also for the goals achieved percentage, total goals and total goals achieved, we're gonna put them under a folder called, let's say, goals or goal achievement. Let's call it goal achievement. So I'm actually gonna put the goals achieved percentage under that folder, and then I'm just gonna move the total goals and total goals achieved here by dragging and dropping like that. And also for the number of employees in the employees table, I'm also gonna move these to the attrition folder as well. And then here, the number of surveys, I'm gonna put it under a folder called surveys, because this will be the folder hosting the measures that are related to surveys. This also includes the measure for EMPS and also engagement and ESAT scores, so everything related to the surveys done to the employees, or the surveys that are done, that are filled by the employees, is going to be under that folder here called surveys. So a little bit of organizing our measures. This does not affect the performance. It's just something to keep your measures neat and clean. All right, so now let's talk about calculating another metric or another measure here, which is the engagement percentage. So the engagement percentage here, to calculate it, what we need to do is to do the calculations based on the answers of 3 questions that we have here that are related to engagement. So if we go to the surveys fact table here on the table view, we'll find that we have 3 questions here. So the first question is, I feel proud to work here. So whether you agree with that statement or not on a scale from 1 to 10, of course, 1 is the lowest score and 10 is the highest score. And then my opinions are valued also on a scale from 1 to 10. And then I see myself working here in 2 years on a scale from 1 to 10. So to calculate engagement, what we need to do is to sum up the scores of Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3, right? So to sum up the scores for the answers of these 3 questions divided by the maximum score possible. Okay, so the maximum score possible, of course, is going to be 30, right? Because if the employee gives a score of 10 for each question, so if he answers 10, 10, 10, then the maximum score possible is going to be 30 for sure. All right, so this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to calculate the engagement percentage. All right, so let's get to work here. So first, we're going to create a measure to calculate the Q1 scores total. Okay, so actually under the surveys folder here, we're going to create a new measure, and this is going to be the Q1 scores total. All right, so the Q1 scores total is simply the summation of the Q1 column, right? So the sum of Q1, right? The Q1 column here, the sum of the scores in Q1. So this is what we're going to do. And then we're going to create another measure for the Q2 scores total as well, which is going to be the sum of Q2, right? The Q2 questions, or the answers of the Q2 the answers of the Q2 question. All right, so this is going to be our second measure. I'm actually going to copy it just to modify it quickly, and then the third one here is going to be the Q3 scores total, which is going to be the sum of the Q3 questions here. All right, so the sum of the scores of the Q3 question. All right, so now we've calculated that, and then the maximum score possible. So this maximum score possible measure is going to be equal to, so this is actually the maximum engagement score possible is going to be equal to 30 multiplied by the number of surveys, right? Because if all the employees score 10 on each question, then the maximum engagement score possible is going to be 30 multiplied by number of surveys. So this is if we get 30 for all the scores, if we get 10 for all the questions for all the surveys, this is the maximum engagement score possible, right? So this is going to be also here another measure. And then in order to calculate the engagement percentage, so now we're going to calculate the engagement percentage, which is going to be equal to, we're going to divide the Q1 scores total plus Q2 scores total plus Q3 scores total. We're going to divide that, so we're going to divide the summation of these scores by the maximum engagement score possible. All right, so this is going to be how we're going to calculate the engagement percentage here. So if we do that, you'll see here that we managed to calculate the engagement percentage. And let's actually call this, instead of engagement percentage, we're going to call it employee engagement score. Employee engagement score, all right, which is a percentage, of course. I'm just going to change the name here quickly. This is going to be our employee engagement score. So if you actually drag and drop, you'll see that the overall employee engagement score, this should be a percentage as well, right? Let's make it with 1 decimal place. The overall employee engagement score for all the employees, for everything with no filters applied, is about 78.2%. So this is how we can calculate the employee engagement score here. All right, so now let's talk about calculating another metric or KPI here, which is the eNPS score. The eNPS score is a measure of how much the employee recommends the company as a workplace. So in the surveys fact table, we'll find an eNPS score column here, which basically indicates what the score is for that the employee has given as a recommendation. So it's the reply to the question, which is, do you recommend this company, which is Skywave Communications, as a workplace, for example? And the employee would give that question, or would answer that question on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the lowest and 10 is the highest. All right, so this is basically what it is. So this is how we're going to calculate it. So to calculate the eNPS score, the measure that we're going to create here, I'm actually going to copy it so as not to consume much time in writing it, and I'm going to explain it to you. So I'm going to copy it from the finished dashboard here, and I'm going to paste it. So basically, I just need to change here the name of the table here on the measure, because I named it a little bit different here, surveys fact table. So instead of fact surveys. All right, so this measure here basically first checks for promoter surveys. So to calculate eNPS, the formula to calculate it is promoters minus detractors, all right, divided by number of surveys. So this is the formula to calculate NPS, right? The NPS percentage. NPS percentage is equal to number of promoters minus number of detractors divided by number of surveys. So first, we're going to calculate what the promoter surveys are, or the number of promoter surveys. So we're going to use the calculate function to calculate the number of surveys, where the score, basically the scores on the surveys fact table on the eNPS score actually. So this is going to be the eNPS score is greater than or equal to 9, right? So this column, the eNPS score column, has a value that is greater than or equal to 9. So this is going to be our promoter surveys. We're going to calculate the number of surveys but we're going to add a filter where the eNPS score is greater than or equal to 9. And then also we're going to calculate the detractor surveys. So detractor surveys are surveys with a score of 6 or less. All right. So promoter surveys are surveys of with a score of 9 or 10. So anything greater than or equal to 9 is a promoter. Detractor surveys are scores are surveys with scores of 6 or less, and then 7 and 8 are called neutral surveys, and they are not included in the EMPS score calculation, so we don't need to account for them or calculate them. And then the result here will be by dividing the promoter surveys minus the detractor surveys, dividing the difference between them by the number of surveys, which is the formula that we had written earlier here. Alright, so this is how we're going to calculate the EMPS score. It's a percentage, and this is going to be it. However, we're going to move this EMPS score measure to be under the surveys table here, or the surveys folder, the surveys folder. Alright, so this is how we're gonna calculate the EMPS score. So if you actually drag and drop that onto the canvas, you'll see that the overall EMPS, let's actually convert or change the number formatting here to a percentage. You'll see that the overall EMPS score is about 9.58 or 9.6%. So this is how we can calculate the EMPS score. The next metric or KPI that we're going to calculate here is the ESAT score. So to calculate the ESAT score, I'm actually going to copy here the formula from the finished dashboard and then explain it to you. So I'm going to create a new measure here. I'm going to paste that measure, and basically on the surveys fact table also we have an ESAT score column. All right, so this ESAT score column here on the surveys fact table is also an answer on a scale from 1 to 10 on how much are you satisfied with working in this company, or how much are you satisfied with this company's workplace. And the employee would answer with a number, or with a score between, on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the lowest and 10 is the highest. So usually the formula for calculating satisfaction score is how many employees have scored between 8 and 10, or anything that is greater than or equal to 8. All right, and this will be divided by the number of surveys. So it's as simple as that. How many surveys were 8 or higher, right? How many surveys were 8 or higher divided by number of surveys. This is what the ESAT score is. And of course, it's a percentage. This is how it's calculated. So let's go back here to the measure that we copied and pasted, and as you can see here, I just need to change the table name here because it's called surveys fact table. So this is going to be our ESAT score column. This is what we're gonna choose, and actually I think I made it greater than or equal to 8 and less than or equal to 10, but actually 10 is the highest score. So I mean, we can technically make it just greater than or equal to 8. We don't need to put the other condition here, which is less than or equal to 10, because anything that is greater than or equal to 8 is also going to include 9 and 10, because the scale is overall between 1 to 10, right? So this is going to be it. So first we're going to calculate a variable here for the satisfied surveys, anything that is greater than or equal to 8, and then the result here will be by dividing the satisfied surveys by the number of surveys measure, which is just a number of surveys. It's just counting the rows of the surveys table. It's as simple as that. So this is going to be how we're going to calculate the ESAT score. And as you can see here, the overall ESAT score is 65%. And let's just make this a percentage with maybe one decimal place only, and it's 65.3%. This is our overall ESAT score. All right, so now let's calculate the next KPI here, metric, which is the terminated employees. So how many employees were terminated for any filters that are selected from this menu button. So let's actually go to the finished dashboard for me to explain it to you. So basically, if you select any filters here from the finished dashboard, you will see here that you will see the number of terminated employees for the selected filters, especially, the year and the quarter, and also for the department. So if there are any terminated employees, you'll see the number here. And if there are no terminated employees, so 2017, for example, in quarter one, there were no terminated employees, so you're seeing a 0. All right, so this is what we're going to do here. And actually, if we look at the terminated employees measure here, you'll see that we have this part here at the end, which is if the result is blank, then give me a 0, otherwise give me the result. Because if there are no employees terminated, if we just return the result and there are no employees terminated, then we're going to get a blank value instead of a 0. And I think a 0 would be more realistic than just a blank value here under the terminated. So 0 means 0 people terminated instead of getting a blank value. All right, so this is how we're going to calculate our terminated employees. So I'm actually going to copy the formula here, and then I'm going to explain it to you again. And actually for that formula, or for that measure, we're actually going to use the transactions table. So the transactions fact table here, all right, it has a column for the action type key, and one of the action type keys is action number 2. So if we go to the action types table here, you'll see that action number 2 is termination. So this is how we're going to calculate the terminated employees. So we're going to actually get the unique number of employee IDs that have an action type 2 termination, which is termination between the date boundaries selected on the date filters. All right, so let's see how we're going to do that. So I'm actually going to copy here the formula, and I'm going to put this under the attrition folder here. So I'm going to create a new measure, and you'll see here that we have the formula here. I'm actually just going to change that. So I'm going to change the table name, because I used a different table name, a slightly different table name here on the new project I created. So as you can see here, now we're also gonna actually, this should be the employee ID. All right, so let's actually analyze this formula. So first, we're calculating the maximum date in our filter context in the variable called max date. So this is the maximum date on the calendar table in the current filter context, and we're also calculating the minimum date. So we're calculating the minimum and the maximum date in the current filter context according to the filters applied that will be applied, using the filters or the slices that would be here on the bottom left corner. And then we're calculating the distinct count of the employee ID. So the distinct count means the count without any duplicate of the employee ID, where the action type key is equal to 2, which is basically termination. And we're also adding another filter here, which is that the dates are between the minimum date in the current filter context and the maximum date in the current filter context, using the dates between functions. So this is what we're doing here. All right, so calculating the distinct count of the employee ID, and we're adding 2 filters where the action type key on the transaction fact table is equal to 2, and also the minimum date and the maximum date. We could also add actually the action type filter, the type key filter. We could also filter it from the action types table, because the action types table is actually connected to the transactions fact table, and it filters it. So we can actually do that, and I think this would be even more efficient performance wise. So this is, I'm going to make that change here, that the action type key is equal to 2 on the action types table, right? Because the action types table is connected to the transactions table on the action type key column. It filters it. There's a one-to-many relationship between them. All right. So this is how we're going to calculate the terminated employees. So if you check actually the number of terminated employees, in that case, actually, because we don't have any filters applied, at all. We don't have any date filters. We're getting 0 terminated employees. We're getting a blank result because we don't have any filters applied at all. So if you press enter, you'll see here that the terminated employees will be 274 because this is the number of terminated employees overall during the whole lifetime of the data between 2014 and between the start of 2014 and the end of 2024. All right, so now we're going to do the attrition calculation. So the attrition calculation is simply done by calculating the average number of employees during a period. So when we have a period selected, when we have a period of dates selected here through these slicers. So for example, here we have 2017 Q3, which is basically quarter 3 in 2017. So this is a period of time, right? It's from July 2017 till the end of September 2017. So this period starts on the 1st of July 2017, right? 1st of July, and ends on the 30th of September 2017. This is the period we have selected here. We need to calculate on this period we need to calculate the number of employees at the start of the period, right? How many employees we had at the start of the period, and then calculate how many employees we had at the end of the period. So on the 30th of September 2017, how many employees did we have? And then we're gonna average these two numbers to get the average number of employees during this period. So we're going to add the number of employees at the start of the period plus the number of employees at the end of the period, and then divide that number by 2, and this will give us the average number of employees during that period. And then we'll divide the terminated employees, how many employees were terminated, divided by the average number of employees. So this is how attrition is calculated in HR KPIs or in HR metrics. All right, so I'm actually gonna copy here the measure for the average number of employees, so that I don't consume much time in writing it, and I'm gonna explain it to you. So as you can see here, we're capturing the minimum date in the current filter context, which is the minimum date during that period, or the minimum date selected on the slicers, and then we're calculating also the maximum date in the current filter context, or in the context of the slicers of the period that is selected here on the slicers. And then we're going to calculate the number of employees at the start of the period. So we're going to calculate the number of employees from the employees table, which is by counting the rows of the employees table where the hiring date of the employee is less than or equal to the minimum date. So this means that the employee was hired before or on the minimum date, right? The minimum date in the current filter context. And also either the termination date is greater than the minimum date, so at the point of the minimum date the employee had not been terminated yet, or there is no termination date, the termination date is blank. So either this or that means that the employee is still on board, is still not terminated at the point of the start of the period. All right, and then we're calculating the employees at the end of the period, which is by calculating the number of employees from the employees table, and we're going to check that the hiring date is less than or equal to the maximum date in the current filter context, and also the termination date is after the maximum date in the current filter context, and also the termination date of the employee is blank. So this means that at the point of the end of the period, the employee had not been terminated yet, or had no termination date. All right, and then the result will be by dividing the employees at the start of the period plus the employees at the end of the period. We'll divide that by 2. So this is to get the average number of employees. This is for the attrition calculation. And then in order to calculate the attrition, this is going to be our average number of employees here. Let's actually move that under the attrition folder, just to make sure it's there, it's in the right folder. So we moved it under the attrition folder. So now the attrition percentage calculation is going to be by dividing the terminated employees by uh, by the average number of employees. But actually, there's a bit of a twist here that I've done, because if you don't have any filters selected, you might have problems with your numbers. You might get a blank number. You might get actually a 0 instead of a blank number. So this is why I've added a check here that I'd make sure that if there's no year selected and there's no quarter selected and there's no employee department selected, so if this check here it gives us a true, so this means that neither a year selected nor a quarter selected nor a department is selected. So I'm checking for that. If this is true, give me a blank value instead of a 0, right? Because I don't want to get a 0 in case there are no filters selected. I'd rather get a blank value. So if this condition is true, give me a blank. Otherwise, I want you to divide the terminated employees by the average number of employees, which is for the attrition calculation, and then return the result. So it's just a quick check here for my filters. And I'm going to press enter here. This is going to be our attrition measure here created. So in order to calculate attrition, as I explained to you, during a certain period, we need to calculate the number of employees at the start of that period and then the number of employees at the end of the period. And we'll divide the summation of these two numbers by 2 to get the average number of employees. And then we'll divide the terminated employees by the average number of employees in order to get attrition. All right, so now we've created our measures, our most important measures here. Next, we're going to start creating our visuals. All right, so now we're going to start creating our visuals. So the first visual we're going to create here is the KPI card at the top. So as you can see here, here's our KPI card. We're going to start creating that. So we're going to drag and drop the new KPI card here onto the canvas, as you can see. And the first KPI we have in our KPI card is the number of employees. So this is what we're going to put first. And the number of employees is actually the number of active employees. So we have it here under the attrition folder here under the measures table. So we're going to drag it and drop it onto this KPI card. So we have the number of active employees. And we're actually going to change the name of the KPI here so that instead of saying number of active employees or active employees, it will say number of employees. So we're going to go here to the callout values, and we're going to go to and we're going to change the series here to active employees. And here under the label, we're going to type number of employees here, or just pound employees, which is number of employees. So as you can see here now, it says number of employees. And then the next KPI we're going to add is the goals percentage, which is the goal achievement percentage. So we're going to drag and drop here the goals achieved percentage. And as you can see here, it's currently in a decimal number formatting. So we're going to change that to a percentage here. And we don't need the decimal places, so we're going to keep it with 0 decimal places. So the goals achieved is 65% overall, as you can see here. All right, so this is the second KPI that we've added here. All right, so now we're going to keep on adding more KPIs to our KPI card. So let's add the surveys KPI here. So we're going to drag and drop the surveys KPI here from our surveys folder under the measures table. So as you can see here, we're going to drag and drop the number of surveys here, and we're going to call it just surveys. And we're also going to change the goals achieved to goals percentage. So let's do that. So here's the goals achieved. We're going to call it goals percentage, just like what we have here on the screenshot. And also for the surveys, let's just change here to the surveys. The number of surveys, we're going to call it just surveys. So now we've done that, and let's also add one more KPI here, which is engagement. So let's add the engagement KPI here. So it's actually the employee engagement score. So we're going to drag it and drop it here. Actually, I dragged it and dropped it onto the canvas instead of dragging and dropping it onto the KPI card. So I'm just dragging and dropping it onto the KPI card here, as you can see. And as you can see here, the KPI card's font and everything might be too big, so we can actually reduce the sizes here a bit, the font size and all. So on our current KPI card for the callout values, the font size is 25, so we're going to do that. We're going to make it 25 instead of 45. So yeah, so that we would have a more manageable font size. And for the labels, actually, we're gonna make them 12 for the labels. We're gonna make them 12, and actually, this is we're gonna apply these to all of our KPIs. Okay, so we're gonna make the values here 25 and the labels as 12. So as you can see here, and we're also gonna actually change the layout as well here. So instead of a single row, let's make it a grid actually. And on our screenshot here, how many KPIs do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 8 columns by 1 row. So 1 row by 8 columns, as you can see here. And now, as you can see here, now it's getting much better. It's getting closer to what we have. And we need to also change the employee engagement KPI here. So let's go back to the employee engagement and let's call it just engagement, because employee engagement is too long. So as you can see here, it's starting to form up. All right, so now we're gonna add more KPIs here. So let's add the eNPS score and the ESAT score and the terminated number of terminated people and the attrition percentage. So we're gonna drag and drop here the eNPS score, as you can see. So here's the eNPS score, and it's a percentage, and then we're gonna drag and drop the ESAT score as well, which is a percentage as well, and then we're gonna add the terminated. So this is the number of terminated employees, as you can see, and we're just gonna call it terminated. So we're gonna go here to the terminated employees KPI. We're just gonna call it terminated instead of terminated employees, which is a bit long here. So we're gonna call it terminated, and then the attrition percentage, we're gonna add that as well to our KPI card. Here's the attrition percentage. It's currently not showing anything because, as we explained before, the attrition percentage needs to be calculated during a certain time period. So we need to have a certain date filter applied. So when we have the filters, this number should show, because on the attrition percentage, as you can see here, we have a filters check here to make sure that we have a filter applied or selected. But then if there's no filter, we're gonna have a blank value, which is what is showing here. All right, so now let's start styling our KPI card to look like this one. So first, we're gonna change the background of the KPI card here under the layout. We're gonna go to background. We're gonna give it a background that is a gray color, which has a hex color of E6, E6, E6. So E6, E6, E6. This is gonna be our background. This is what I did. So I did a gray background. You could do a different color if you want to, but this is what I've done, and I'm just trying to replicate what we have here. All right, so this is going to be the background, and then here on the cards, we're going to make the background of the cards, we're going to make it our blue here, our standard blue for our theme. And also the border, we're gonna make it the orange color here, our standard orange for the theme. And actually we need to thicken the borders a bit. I think it was 3 pixels on the original dashboard. It was actually 5 pixels. So I'm gonna thicken it even more. And we're gonna make the text actually white. So let's actually check. So let me check what exact white we had here for the text for the callout values. So for the callout values, it was just white. So here under the values, we're going to make them white. Actually, we need to do that for everything. So we need to make sure to apply it to all series. We're going to make the color white here. And for the labels, we're going to make the labels a shade of, it's going to be a whitish gray here. And the hex color for that, this is what I chose. It was a very light gray. And I think it was probably this one. Yeah, I think it was this one. Let me check the, no, so it wasn't this one. It was actually this kind of whitish gray, F0, F2, F5. This is the hex color for it. So this is what it was here. And I think we need to also minimize the space between the borders. So for also the borders, I think, so it's actually the space between the cards. So we need to go back here to the layout, and then we're going to make the spacing between the cards, we're going to make it 0. All right, so this is going to be our KPI card here. So now we have replicated the KPI card that we have in the picture, in the screenshot. So if you check the KPI card that we have in the screenshot, is the exact same KPI card here. This is what we have at the moment. And we could actually just reduce its size a bit, because the one in the picture was a bit smaller. So now we have the exact same KPI card here. All right, so now we're going to start creating our first chart here, which is the active employees by department chart. So for that, we're going to insert a 100% stacked bar chart. And on the y-axis, we're going to have our employees. We're going to have the departments for our employees. So we're going to drag and drop the department here, the department column here from the employees table to the y-axis. And then on the x-axis, we're going to have our active employees. So we're going to drag and drop that to the x-axis, as you can see here. And to split the active employees by male and female, here, as you can see, we need to drag and drop the gender column here from the employees table. We need to drag it and drop it onto the legend area here. And as you can see here, now we have the male and female split here. However, as you can see here on the screenshot, we have the female as orange and the males as blue, which is more like the normal color, the normal colors or the usual colors that are used. Usually they use orange or pink for females and blue for males. I use the orange because the orange is part of our color theme. So we need to flip here the legend for the males to be blue and the females to be orange. All right, so on the bars here, we need to select the female series and we're going to make them orange, and then we're going to select the male series here and we're going to make them blue, as you can see here. And also we're going to view the data labels. So we need to view the data labels to be able to see the percentages. So as you can see here, we managed to create something similar to what we have here. We don't need to also view the gender label here for the legend, because it's quite obvious that male and females are genders. So what we need to do here on the legend, we need to hide the title for the legend, because it's quite obvious here when we see male and female that male and female is the gender. All right, and we could also remove the department title here on the y-axis and the active employees title here on the x-axis, because it's quite obvious that these are departments. These the departments here we have on the x-axis are departments, and it's also obvious here from the title of the chart, which we are going to change that as well. But anyways, we're going to remove the department title and the active employees title here from the x-axis and the y-axis. So title here removed from the x-axis, and also title removed or deactivated here from the y axis. All right. And let's also change the title for the chart. So instead of active employees by department and gender, it's going to be just active employees by department, because it's quite obvious here that the split is for the gender here. So to keep the title of the chart at a reasonable length. So as you can see here, we managed to create that chart. And actually, I also removed from the x-axis, I removed the scale that we had here from 0 to 100, because it's also not needed. So on the x-axis as well, let's go here and remove that scale from 0 to 100. So it's actually, I think on the x-axis, we're going to remove the values. Yeah, so we removed the values here, as you can see here, because they are also not needed, because if they are percentages, then they start at 0 and end at 100. And it's quite obvious here that the split, the two splits here complement each other and they add up to 100%. All right, so we've created our first chart. All right, so now we're going to create our second chart here, which is the terminated employees chart. So for that chart, we're going to create a stacked bar chart. So we're going to insert a stacked bar chart, and we're going to insert as well the department here on the y-axis, and we're going to have our terminated employees. So how many employees were terminated on the x-axis. So let's actually drag it and drop it again. Okay, so now we have the number of terminated employees here on the x-axis. We're also going to make sure to have our data labels on. So now this shows how many terminated employees we have here, and we're also going to have that split by male and female, just like what we have here. So we're going to have that split by male and female, and this is going to be by dragging and dropping the male and the female here to the legend area. So the gender to the legend area, actually, as you can see here. And we're going to flip, the male and the colors for the male and the female. So now here under the bars, we're going to select the male series. We're going to make that blue, and we're going to select the female series, and we're going to make that orange. All right, so that the colors, and we need to make sure, you know, that the colors are consistent across all charts. And let's also remove the terminated employees here title from the x-axis. So let's remove the terminated employees title from the x-axis, and the department title as well from the y-axis, as you can see here. And let's also change the title for the chart to just terminated employees. So we can make it terminated employees by department. Okay, so this is going to be the title for our chart. I actually made it only terminated employees. And I think we should make it terminated employees by department, because here it shows the terminated employees by department. Let's also remove that scale here from the x-axis. So we're also gonna click on the chart, and we're gonna go to the x-axis here. So I think it's the y-axis and then the x-axis. Okay, and then on the values, we're actually gonna remove the values here from the x-axis, because they don't add much value, and the less that you have here on the chart, the less elements, the better. And also, we need to remove this gender title here from the legend. So we're going to go to our legend, and we're going to remove the title from our legend here as well. So as you can see here, we managed to make the chart have less elements and less distraction, which is good. All right, so one more thing that we need to create here on the terminated employees by department chart is the tooltip that we have here, because we have a tooltip here that if you hover over a number on the chart, or part of the bar, you know, with a certain color, it will show you the employees that were terminated in that particular department. So for example, here I'm hovering over the IT department on the female section, so it shows me the female employees that have been terminated. And then here also, if I hover over the male section, it's going to show me the male employees that have been terminated. And these employees will be even less, and tooltip will be even more useful when you apply a filter here, so if you make the year, for example, 2020, you will have just a couple of employees here to show, so it's going to be even better here, this tooltip. But how do we create this tooltip? Because this tooltip is not there by default. As you can see here, if you hover over a part of the chart, you will see here that you just have some basic information here that the department is IT department, gender is male, and terminated employees is 11 in case of this part, for example. So to create this tooltip, first of all, let's just rename this page here to dashboard, because this is going to be our dashboard. And then we're going to create a new page here. And for the new page, it's going to be a tooltip page. It's something that we call a tooltip page, and we're going to name it terminated employees tooltip. You can name it anything that you want, or you can make tooltip just double T like this. So this is going to be our terminated employees tooltip, and we're going to go here to the page information. So we're going to go here to the formatting button here, and we're going to go to page information, and we're going to make the type of this page a tooltip page. All right. So this is going to be our tooltip page, and we're going to insert a table, because what we saw on the tooltip was a table. So we're going to insert a table visual here on the page, and it's going to be inserted in this space here, as you can see. And we're going to create the table that we saw on the tooltip. So the table that we saw on the tooltip had the employee ID, and then it also had the full name of the employee, and it also had the department of the employee. So we're gonna drag and drop that as well. And it also had the gender, actually, the gender even before the department. So let's add the gender here before the department. So it was employee ID, full name, gender, and department. And it also had the termination date of the employee. So we're going to add that as well. And we could actually increase as well the size of that tooltip page. So to do that, under the formatting as well, we're going to go to canvas settings, and instead of making it a tooltip type, we're going to make it custom, just to increase the size of the tooltip a bit. Okay, so it's still going to be a tooltip, but it's going to have a custom size, and we're going to make the width 500 instead of 320, just to give that table a bit more space here. Okay, and actually for the termination date, we need to make sure it's only a date as well, not a date hierarchy. So just termination date here. And as you can see here, we have our termination date here. And let's make sure as well the termination date has a certain formatting. I'd actually prefer this format, for example. All right, so now we managed to create our tooltip page here. And let's also customize the table here that we created. So as you can see here on this tooltip, the table here has alternating rows. Some are blue with white text, and some are gray with black text. And also it has the headers here having a black background with white text as well. So this is what we're going to apply to this table here. So we're going to select it, and we're going to go to the style presets. We're going to have it have alternating rows, and then we're also going to go to the values section here, and we're going to make one of the alternating rows, as you can see here. So this one, we're going to make it actually a different shade of gray here. So the shade of gray we're going to make it is having this hex color, which is, so it's quite a light gray here with a black text, and then the other background color here is going to be the blue with white text. So as you can see here, now we're getting the same look here, and actually the headers already have a black background and a white text, but we can always change them if we need to. But this is good. So the column headers actually have a black background and a white text. All right, so this is the table that we wanted. So it's now created here. So let's actually apply that tooltip to the visual that we have here. All right, so now to assign that tooltip to this chart here, we're gonna click on the chart and click on properties here, and we're gonna make sure that tooltips is activated, and we're gonna make sure that this the type is selected here as report page, and then the page selected here is the terminated employees tooltip, as you can see here. And now, as you can see here, we're able to see the terminated employees, the details of the terminated employees. All right, so now after assigning that tooltip to this chart, we'll notice something, which is that the termination dates on some of the employees are blank. So this means that they haven't been actually terminated. So this is why there is a problem with this tooltip. So what we need to do is to actually go here on the tooltip and apply a filter to this chart here, or to this table, which is that the termination date. So we'll go under the filters pane here, we'll apply a filter that the termination date is not blank, so that it shows only the employees that have been terminated, as you can see here. So now if you go back to our dashboard, you'll see here that what we see here are employees that have actually been terminated here on the tooltip. So and on this one, so we have 6 employees that have been terminated that were male, and as you can see here, we are seeing also 6 employees that have been terminated that are male, have the gender of a male. And so far we don't have any filters applied in terms of the dates actually so far in our dashboard, but we're going to create this area here on the left. So we're going to create a slicer, and actually a slicer panel and all that, to apply date filters to our dashboard. So keep watching as we do that. All right, so now we're going to create this chart here for the active employees today by age group. And the thing is, if we use these slicers here for changing the dates, okay, so when we change the year and the quarter, we have a date range. We cannot have these age groups to be dynamic, because in order to make them dynamic, we need to make them a measure, or to calculate them using a measure, and measures cannot be put on the categories axis here or on the y-axis of a bar chart. So we're not going to be able to make these dynamic or make them change if we select a different date here on the slicer. So in order to put them on the y-axis here or as categories, we need to make them a calculated column, and a calculated column cannot be dynamic depending on a slicer selection. So this is why these age groups are going to be just for today, or as of today. So they are going to reflect today's age group distribution, okay, or how many employees are in each group are going to be as of today, or as of the latest update on the employees table. So this is something to bear in mind. This is not going to be dynamic depending on the slicer selection. It's not going to react to the slicer selection. Like all these all these charts or visuals here, they react to your slicer selection, but this one is not going to react to your slicer selection. All right, so to create this chart, what we need to do is to create the active employees today measure. So we need to create a measure that shows us the active employees today, or as of the latest update on the employees table. So to create that measure, we're just going to create a new measure here under the attrition folder here. We're going to create a new measure, and we're going to call it active employees today, or right now, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and for this measure, actually, here's the formula for the measure. We're going to calculate the number of employees on the employees table, or from the employees table, which is simply by counting the number of employees that we have on the employees table. And we're going to make sure to remove all filters on the employee ID column, so that we would make sure that all the employees listed in the table get included in our calculation, and we're going to filter for the employees that don't have a termination date, where the termination date is blank. Because if the termination date of the employee is blank, this means that this employee has not been terminated yet, or he's still active in the company. And termination here, by termination, it doesn't have to be that the employee was terminated or laid off. It could be also that the employee has resigned. So whatever the reason is for terminating the employment of the employee would be under this termination date. So as long as the employee does not have a termination date, then the employee is still active, which is what we're searching for. We want the active employees as of today, or as of the latest update here on the employees table. So we're going to press enter to create this measure here. And another thing that we need to create is this age group here. So we need to calculate the age group, and to calculate the age group, we need to also calculate the age of the employee, which we're going to do using Power Query. All right, so now we're going to go to Power Query here to create the age and the age group columns here. So we're going to go to the employees table. We're going to add a new column, custom column, and we're going to use a formula here for calculating the age, which is a formula actually that I used on a previous dashboard, car insurance, that I had created before. So I used this formula on for the car insurance dashboard. I'll leave you the link for that dashboard down below in the description, and you should find it also in the channel. So for this formula here, this is a formula that calculates the age. We first create a variable for the birth date, which is going to be using the date of birth column. So we're going to put the date of birth in a variable called birth date, and then we're going to calculate another variable called the current date. So for this current date here, we're going to calculate, we're going to extract the date from the date and time of right now, which is using the datetime.localNow function. So the datetime.localNow function will give us the date and time for the current moment right now. Okay, so this will be dynamic depending on what time and date it is right now. Okay, and we're going to extract the date from that. And then we have another variable here called the simple age, which is simply the difference between the current date that we calculated here and the birth date of the employee. Okay, this is a simple age. We're just getting the difference in years as an integer, and then we're going to create another variable here, which is a check variable. And this check variable will check if the current date, okay, so the current date, the date of right now, or the date of today, is less than, the date obtained by adding the simple age here, which is the difference. So if the current date is less than that date, then give me 1. Otherwise, if it's not less than the date obtained by adding the simple age to the birth date of the employee, then give me a 0. So if the current date is less than the date obtained by adding the simple age to the birth date, right? So just the difference in years to the birth date. If the current date is less than that date, then this means that the birth date of the employee has not come yet. So this means that we're gonna subtract 1 from the simple age, because the employee's birth date has not come yet, or the birthday has not come yet. The employee's birthday has not come yet. So this is why we're gonna subtract 1 from that, from the simple age. Otherwise, if the current date is not less than the date obtained by adding the simple age to the date of birth, then this means that the birthday of the employee has come already. All right, so it's we are on or past the birthday of the employee. So this means that we're going to subtract just a 0. We're not going to subtract anything from the simple age. All right, so this is how we're going to calculate the age. We're going to click OK, and this formula works. We're going to make this a whole number as well, because age should be an integer. So as you can see here, for example, for this employee who was born on the 16th of October 1987, so today's date is the 24th of February 2025. All right. So today's date is 24th of February 2025. So this means that the employee's age is actually 37. He's not 38 yet because he's going to be 38 on the 16th of October 2025, and we're not the 16th of October 2025 yet. As I told you, we're in February 2025, 24th of February. So this is why he's still 37 so far. Okay. And this works for all the employees. It calculates the age correctly. All right, now we're going to calculate the age group. So we're going to create another calculated column here. We're going to call it age group. And this is going to be the formula for calculating the age group. So it's a simple formula here. It's an if formula where we check, the ages between 18 and 24 because we created an age column, right? So if the age is between 18 and 24, it's going to be 18 to 24. If it's between 25 and 34, it's 25 to 34, etc. All right, and so this is how we're going to classify our age groups. You can classify them differently. You can create different buckets if you want to. It's up to you. You just need to edit this formula here, and we're going to click OK. So this is going to be the age group here created, and we're going to make that a text because this should be a text. All right, and we're going to close and apply. So we've created these two columns that we need for creating the chart, and we're going to close and apply. All right, so now we're going to create the active employees today by age group chart. So for this chart, actually, I want to also split it by male and female. So this is something I'm going to add to the chart as well. So the type of chart I'm going to choose here is going to be a stacked bar chart because I'm going to split them. I'm going to split the numbers as well by males and females. So to do that, we're going to add here the active employees today to the x-axis because this is going to be the number calculated, and we're also going to add the age group column here on the y-axis of the chart. So let's add the age group here, as you can see here. And to split them by males and females, we're also going to add the gender here to the legend area as well. All right, so now we've split them by males and females, but as you can see here, they don't follow the same convention where the females are orange and the males are blue. Because here it's vice versa. So we're going to change that by going to the bars here, and we're going to make the males here. So make sure to select your series here. Instead of all, make sure to select male and female. So the males are going to be blue and the females are going to be orange, as you can see here. So now we've managed to do that. And let's also hide the gender title here on the legend because we don't need to this to say gender. We know that males and females are genders, right? So, always try to reduce the clutter on your charts. All right, so we've removed that title, and we're also going to remove the title that says age group. So this is on the y-axis. We're going to remove the title. So now we've removed it, and we're also going to remove this title here on active employees today, and we're also going to remove these values as well on the x-axis. So let's go to the x-axis. We're going to remove the title removed, and then we're going to remove the values here on the x-axis, so that has been removed as well. And we're going to add the data labels to the chart. So as you can see here, now the chart looks much better, much cleaner, and at the moment the chart is being sorted in a descending order by the number of employees. So the age group that has the most number of employees is at the top, and then the one that goes after that, and then the one in the third place, and so on and so forth. So it's not being sorted by the number of employees, which is what we need. But if you need to sort them differently, you can always here go to sort axis and sort by age group in a descending or ascending order if you want to. So now this has been done. So this chart is now done, and let's also change the title on the chart here. So we're going to change the title on the chart here to be active employees. So it's now currently active employees today. We don't have to say by, we could make it active employees today by age group. We don't have to say and gender because it's obvious on the chart here that the split is for genders. So now this chart is completed, and I've actually made it a bit different from this one because I've split it by males and females. The third chart here is done. All right, guys, so now we're going to create the table visual that we have here. However, I've made a change on the table visual so as to have conditional formatting. So as you can see here, I made the change to the table visual to make it have conditional formatting where the employees, the top performing employees, are colored by gender, so that the females are orange and the males are blue, as you can see here. And of course, these top performers, so these will be the top 5 performers. Okay, so this table will show us the top 5 performers. As you can see here, the table is sorted by the goal achievement percentage. So this will be the top 5 performers according to the filters selected here for the dates. So for the year and quarter and department as well. So for the dates and the department. So this should show us the top performers, top 5 performers. Okay, so let's first start by constructing the basic table, and then we'll add conditional formatting and all the other bells and whistles. Okay, so we're gonna start by inserting a table visual here, and we're gonna put it in this area, and then we're gonna start adding the different columns that we have on this table. So the first column is the employee ID, and we're gonna get that from the employees table. So we're gonna add that to this table here, and then we're also gonna add the full name of the employee, and we're also gonna add the gender and the department and the hiring date. So as you can see here, the hiring date has been broken down into year, quarter, month, and day, but then we can click on this arrow here, and then instead of a date hierarchy, so instead of the date having a hierarchy like this, we're just going to select the hiring date. And we can always change how the hiring date looks. So we can choose the format here. So let's say we're going to choose this format here, the day, month, year. And we're also going to add the goal achievement percentage here. We're going to add the measure that we created. So here's the goal achievement percentage. So we're going to add that as well to the table. So as you can see here, this has been added, but currently the table is showing all the employees, not the top employees. So to make it show the top employees, we're gonna select the table like this, and then under the filters here, we're gonna go to the goals achieved. So as you can see here, the table is showing all the employees. So what we want is to actually show only the employees that are in the top 5 performers, so the top 5 performing employees. So to do that, we're gonna go to our filters pane here, and actually we want to show the employee IDs, and we want to filter the employees by a top N filter, so as to show the top 5 employee IDs, right? Because the ID is something that is specific to each employee, so there are no 2 employees with the same employee ID. So we want to show the top 5 employee IDs by the goal achievement, or the goals achieved measure here. So we can add the data field here, goals achieved. We want to show the top 5 employees by goals achieved, and then apply that filter. So now we're only going to see the top 5 employees by the goals achieved. And let's also sort them by top to bottom, or by the highest achieving to the lowest achieving employee here, as you can see. So we clicked here on the goals achieved percentage, and this has sorted our employees by goal achievement. All right, so let's make some more changes here to the table to make it look like this one. So we have here this goals achieved percentage measure, which is a bit of a long text in the title here for the goals achieved percentage. So there's no option here in the table to change it, to change the header of that column to maybe goals percentage or something. So actually it will take the same header as the name of the measure. So I'm actually going to change the name of the measure, because this is actually what I've done on the demo here. So the name of the measure here was goals percentage, not goals achieved. So I use this as a shorter name. So I'm actually going to do that here as well. And I'm going to make it goals percentage. And this will shorten Also the name of the column header here, or on the table, so as to make the table appear as a whole without scrolling, so that we can see the whole data without having to scroll to the right or to the left. So this is a change that I'm making here to be able to see all the data. And I'm also gonna remove the totals here because we don't need the total. So I'm gonna remove it here from this table visual. So we have the totals here. We're just gonna remove the total. All right. So now we don't have a total here, and we're showing the top 5 employees by goals percentage. Let's also add a title for this table visual. So we're gonna make it top 5 performers. Let's say top 5 performers, or top performance. So it's top 5 performers, as you can see here. And let's also add for the column headers. Let's make the column headers black with white text. So actually, we're gonna make the text white and the background black, so as to match what we have here on the screenshot, as you can see here. Let's also change the style to make it the same as the one that we have in the screenshot. So for that, actually, I used for on the style presets, I used the alternating rows style. I usually like to use that because this gives different colors for the different rows. But in our case, we're gonna have conditional formatting applied, so this is not gonna appear much, because we're not gonna have alternating rows. We're gonna have the rows actually colored according to the gender using conditional formatting. But this is the style I chose at the beginning, so I'm just sticking to what I've done at the beginning to give you almost the same look as the one we have here in the screenshot. Now, to apply the conditional formatting, what we need to do first is to create some measures that apply the conditional formatting as usual, because this is how we've been applying conditional formatting on our previous dashboards, and this is the way I prefer for applying conditional formatting. So what we're going to do, we're gonna create a new measure here. So the first conditional formatting we're gonna apply is having conditional formatting for a female employee. Okay, so this will actually just have the color that we need to have for female employees, which is the orange color with a hex code of, this is going to be the hex code of the orange color. So this is the hex code of the orange color, this orange color. This is the hex code for that color. So you need to put the hex code here between double quotes. So this will be what is going to apply this orange color for us. Okay, and this is just like applying a red and green and yellow or amber. So this is, but in this case, we don't want to apply red and green and amber. We want to apply an orange and a blue. So this is the hex code of the orange color. This is the first measure that we're going to create here, which is just a measure for applying the orange color because the employee is female. But as you can see here, we have it under the attrition folder. No, we don't want to have it under the attrition folder. So we want to have it under a conditional formatting folder, just to be able to tidy up our measures. I mean, it's still going to work, but as you can see here, we're tidying up our measures in the different folders just to be tidy. So we're going to click on this CF female employee here after going to the model view, and on the display folder, we're going to put it under CF for conditional formatting. So this is going to be go under a CF folder here. So now we've created this folder. We don't have to do that again. We can always just add a new measure under that folder. All right, so this is our first conditional formatting measure that we have here. The second conditional formatting measure is going to be for male employees. So I'm going to create a new measure here, and it's going to apply the color for male employees, which this is the hex code of the blue color here. This blue color, This is the hex code for it. So we're putting it between double quotes, as you can see here. So this is our second measure, which is going to apply the blue color in the logic. All right, so before continuing with creating our conditional formatting measures, I want to show you something. So if you click on this table visual here, and for applying the conditional formatting, we need to go to the cell elements option. So there's an option here called cell elements. Here it is. Okay, and the thing is, when applying conditional formatting in tables, you need to apply it to each individual column. So you can't apply it to the whole row with one logic or rule. You need to actually go to each individual column and then apply it to the background color and to the font color and to the icons if you want, if you have, and the web URL. But in this case, we'll only apply it to the background color and the font color. So in our case, we're gonna make the background either orange or blue depending on the gender, right? So if the gender is female, it's going to be orange, and if it's male, it's going to be blue. And we're going to make the text white in both cases, because white goes well with the orange and with this blue as well. Okay, and so this is what we're going to do here. So let's start creating the logic. All right, so first we're gonna create a logic for the background color. Okay, so we're gonna create a new measure here under the conditional formatting folder, and we're gonna call it CF underscore gender. We're gonna call it CF underscore gender logic background, because this is the logic for the background color. Okay, and for this, what we're going to do is that we're going to check if the selected value, so if the value filtered in the current filter context for the gender column on the employee table is a male, right? So we're going to check if it's a male. Okay, and if it is a male, what should we do? We should use the CF male employee, right? Otherwise, because it's either going to be a male or a female on the gender, so otherwise it's going to be CF female employee. Okay, so we're going to use the conditional formatting for the female employee, or the color for the female employee. If it's not a male, if it's a male, we're going to use the male employee color, which we created these two measures right previously here. So this is going to be the logic here for choosing the background color. And for the font color as well. So for the font color, we're going to create a measure that will give us the font color. But in our case, we don't need to do logic. We just need to do just a white color, right? So the white color hex color is actually just, I think it's 5 or 6 Fs. Let me just double check. So it's actually 6 Fs. So F repeated 6 times is going to be the logic for a white color, because we're not going to do an if statement, or we're not going to choose based on the gender, because in both cases it's white, so there's no need to. But if it had been the case that that we had two different colors for each gender for the font color, so instead of having white for both, we'd have, for example, let's say black for the orange and white for the blue, then we would have done an if statement just like the one we have here on the background. So if it's a male, we're going to do this color. Otherwise, we're going to do that color, for example. But in our case, we're going to do white for both. So there's no need for an if statement or an if condition here. So we're going to press enter. So this is going to be the logic for the font color. All right, so now we're going to apply the conditional formatting. So what we're going to do here, we're going to select our table, and then we're going to go to the option for the cell elements here, and we're going to select each column and apply the conditional formatting too. So our first column here is the employee ID. So we're going to activate the background color conditional formatting, and we're going to do it based on a field value, and we're going to choose actually the measure that applies conditional formatting. So we're going to go to the conditional formatting folder here. We're going to apply the background logic here, and we're going to click OK. So now, as you can see here, the logic is being applied here for the background. The logic for the background is being applied based on the gender. So for females, it's orange, and for males, it is blue. But as you can see here, the font is still black because we don't have the font color logic applied yet. So we're going to activate that as well, and we're going to select the field value and apply the logic here from the measures, from the conditional formatting. We're going to apply the font logic and click OK, which the font logic is simply just a white color. There's no real logic behind it. It's just a white color because we agreed that we're going to do white for both males and females in terms of the font. We're going to do white font for both males and females. All right, so we've done that for the employee ID. We need to just rinse and repeat for the rest of the columns here. So we're going to do the same for the full name. So we're gonna choose the background color and activate it and make it based on the field value, and go to measures here. So and conditional formatting, and we're gonna use the background logic here for that. And as you can see here, the background has been applied based on the gender, and also for the font, we're gonna do the same here. So it's just rinsing and repeating really. We're gonna do that for each and every column to make it look like the one in the screenshot. So let's do a third column just for you to understand the process really well. So we're gonna choose background and then field value again, and conditional formatting, and background here, the background logic, and then we're gonna apply the font color logic, which is simply just a white color, as we explained before. And as you can see here, that's been done for the gender. So next, we should do the department, hiring date, and goals percentage. So I'm just gonna fast forward while I'm doing these because it's just the exact same steps. All right, so now as you can see here, we managed to create the table looking exactly the same as the table we have here, and this table will react according to the filters that we're gonna apply here from the filters pane that we're gonna construct. So now we're gonna have the female employees having orange rows, and the male employees having blue rows. All right, so now we're gonna create this filters pane on the left. So we'll start first by inserting a rectangular shape. So we're gonna go here, insert shapes, and then we're just gonna insert a rectangular shape like this. And for the size, just to get the exact size of the rectangular shape that I have here on the finished dashboard. So we're going to select this rectangular shape. We're going to go to Format, Size and Style, and mine was 393 by 222 width. Okay. So this was it, and I think we might need to shrink it a bit actually, or maybe we can just move these charts here a bit to the right. So this should be okay. We can always adjust it later, so no problem there. But we'll keep it at this size for now, and we're gonna change its color here. So I'm gonna select this shape here again, and for I think the background here, this is actually not going to be the background. I think it's going to be the fill. All right, and now we're going to change the color for the shape. So we're going to go here to shape style, and under the fill, we're going to change the color here. So this dark blue color, or it's kind of petroleum blue color, is part of my color theme, because I've added that to the color theme. I think it was this color here. So if we actually go to view and go here, click on this arrow and customize the current theme, this is the color we're searching for. So it has the hex code of 384A5E. Of course, I'm using this color picker here from Microsoft Power Toys. I've explained Microsoft Power Toys on previous dashboard, but it's a great tool that has it's like a Swiss knife that has lots of tools. So you can download Microsoft Power Toys from the Windows Store. So if you just search Microsoft Power Toys, you should be able to download it. I'll also leave the link for you to download it down below in the description. And it allows you to pick any color here from the screen by pressing Windows and Shift and C on your keyboard, I believe. Yeah, it's Windows, Shift, and C on your keyboard. It allows you to pick any color from the screen. This is the hex color, and I believe this is the color we have here. Yeah, it's 384A5E, as you can see here. So this is the color that we have here. It's the same color that we have here on the screenshot. Okay, so we've inserted the shape. We're also going to insert more elements to create this filters pane. All right, so now we're going to insert the rest of the elements here. We're going to insert this clear filters button and this close button here. So these buttons I created on Canva, and I have them ready to be inserted. So I'm just going to go to insert here, and I'm going to insert an image, and I have the buttons here. So the first button we're going to insert is the clear filters button. Just going to double click to insert it, and we're going to put it here on the filters pane. And we're also going to insert the other button. So maybe we can increase its size a bit here, and we can insert the other button here, which is also an image. It's a close button. So we're going to double click to insert that. So I have them already created. You can always create them using Canva, or you can also create them using any graphic design application. And there are also websites that have free icons as well. There is flaticon.com. There is iconfinder.com. So there are so many websites that you can get icons from, but I prefer using Canva because they have so many templates. So they are great for creating these kinds of icons. I'll also leave you the icons as part of the example files to download them so that you can use them in building the dashboard. All right, so now let's insert these slicers that we have here. So we have a slicer for the year, and one for the quarter, and one for the department. So we're just going to insert 3 slicers. So we're going to start with the first one here for the year. So we're going to insert a slicer, and this slicer, we're going to get the year column here from the calendar table, and we're going to change the style of the slicer. I think this from the slicer settings, we're going to make it a drop down slicer, as you can see here. And let's remove the background for the slicer. So we're going to select the slicer here, and under the visual option here, we're going to deselect the background or turn off the background, as you can see here. And let's make the text on the slicer here to be white. So the values here, we're going to make them white. So we're going to make the values white, and we're also going to make the slicer header here. We're going to make the font for that white. And let's also change the background here for the values as per the picture we have here to orange. So what we need to do is to select our slicer here, make sure our slicer is selected, and let's go change the values here. We're gonna make the font color, so keep the font color as white, but we'll make the background actually orange, as you can see here. So now we're slowly getting closer to what we have here. All right, to what we have in the picture and on the finished dashboard. So we almost have the same slicer here, the same look and feel as you can see here. We could just do some adjustments here to the buttons. Maybe we can drag them a bit down here, and we can then we can make the slicer be in the middle, can align it to be in the middle, and align these buttons as well. So just some alignments that we can do here to make things better. You can always click on a shape and then go to format here and align it with another shape if you want to. So we can always do that at the end, but we have the basic backbone here of this menu here, this menu system that we're creating. Now let's rinse and repeat. So let's actually copy this slicer. So I'm going to select it, Control C, and then Control V to paste it. And I'm just going to change it here. I'm going to change the field in it to be the quarter instead of the year, so that we have a quarter slicer as well, as per the screenshot that we have here, because we have a quarter slicer. And let's also copy and paste as well. And let's create a departments slicer as well. So we're gonna select it, and we're gonna, instead of the quarter, we're gonna have the department column from the employees table added here, so that we have the different departments here as well on our slicer. We can actually make these slicers a bit wider as well. So let's widen the slicers a bit so that they look like what we have in the picture or in the screenshot. And we can always as well, we can select all our slicers. We can also make sure that they are in front. So we can bring them all to front so that they would be on the frontmost layer, and these buttons as well. Make sure that they are on the frontmost layer, so that the panel here, the panel backbone, the shape here is in the back, and these buttons and slicers are at the front. And we can also make sure to have the distances between the different slicers to be the same. So we can select all our slicers here, pressing and holding Control and selecting all of them, and then we can align. And I think let's try to select them again. Press and hold Control, press and hold Shift to select them, to select the slicers, and then go to Format, Align, and actually, we need to distribute them vertically so that they have equal distances between them. So as you can see here, we managed to create this filters pane. Now we're gonna start as well creating the bookmarks that are gonna allow us to view and hide this filters pane as well. All right, so now we're gonna create the bookmarks that are gonna allow us to view and hide this filters pane, and then we're gonna assign them to these buttons, and we're also gonna create a menu button at the top here to view the filters pane as well. All right, so in order to create the bookmarks, we need to view or to enable viewing the bookmarks pane. So we're going to go to the View tab here. You need to make sure that the bookmarks pane is selected, and also make sure the selection pane is selected. And when you enable them, you're going to have them here on the right if you have the new layout in Power BI, and if you don't, you should have the panes here as well. So you need to make sure that you have the bookmarks and the selection panes enabled. So the selection pane enables you to select objects here that you have, and it shows you all the objects as well. So if you go to the selection pane here, as you can see, here's the selection pane, and you can see here that it has all the objects that we have here. So we have this close button here. So we're just going to rename that image to close button. All right. So I'm double clicking to rename, and then the clear filters button here as well. I'm just going to call it clear filters button. So I'm just double clicking to rename, just to know what I have selected here. And this is the first slicer here. It's the department slicer. So we're just going to name it to department slicer. So renaming the objects is a good practice because it allows you to know which object is which. So this is the quarter slicer as well, and this one is the year slicer. All right, and then we have this shape here, which is basically the filters pane. So filters pane frame. This is a frame of the filters pane, right? This blue rectangle. And then we have this top 5 performance. This is a table. That's fine. We just need these objects here. We have them named so that we know which object is which. And we're actually going to select all these objects. I'm pressing and holding shift here. Actually, or you can press and hold control as well and select all the objects here. And then we're going to right click and group all these objects under one object, because all these objects are going to be under the filters pane. So this is going to be the filters pane, so that we can control viewing and hiding all these objects at once here. So we've grouped all these objects and named them the filters pane. And now we're going to create the bookmark where this filters pane is hidden. So we're simply going to hide this filters pane, hide everything, and this is going to be our first bookmark. So we're going to go to bookmarks here, and then we're going to add a bookmark here, and we're going to call this hide menu or hide filters pane. So this is going to be the hide menu bookmark here, and this is going to keep the data and also have the same display. So as you can see here, this is our first bookmark here. So let's actually try this bookmark. Let's view the filters pane and let's try using this bookmark. And as you can see here, trying to use this bookmark, it hides the filters pane. It hides everything, the filters pane with everything in it. So this means that this hide menu or hide filters pane bookmark is working. And something else actually that we need to change here on this hide menu bookmark is that we need to disable the data option here, because this will apply the filter, drill, and sort state. So this means that it will enforce that hiding the menu will always be having the current filter state, which at the point of creating this bookmark was that all the filters were removed. So we'll always also apply removing the filters. So, if we select a certain year here, okay, and then we hide this menu and then we view it again, you can see here that the filters will go back to being removed. Okay, will be removed, although we had a filter selected. So we need to make sure to remove this data option, so that if we select a filter, okay, let's say year 2018, and then we hide, and then we view them again, the filter remains. Okay, because we might select a filter and then want to hide the filters pane, but we want the filter to still exist, right? We don't want the filter to be removed after we hide the filters pane. So this is why we unchecked this data option here, because this data option will remember the state of the filters at the point of creating the bookmark, the point of creating this hide menu bookmark. Okay, so this is a something important that we needed to do here on the hide menu bookmark. All right, so now we're gonna create the other bookmark, where the other bookmark is when the filters pane is viewed or is turned on, right? So what we need to do is to add a bookmark while the filters pane is on, like this. So we're going to add a bookmark, which is, we're going to double click on it and call it view menu. Okay. And we're going to make sure as well to deselect the data option here, so that it doesn't keep the filters that are currently applied as well. Okay, so now if we hide the filters pane, we hide the menu, and then when we view it, when you click here, this bookmark will view the menu. And in both cases, it's keeping the filter. So if I change the filter here to 2016, for example, let's hide and let's view, the filters are being kept, as you can see here. Okay, so these are the two bookmarks, as you can see here, for hiding and for viewing the menu. And we're also gonna assign them later to their respective buttons. Let's also create another bookmark, which is the clear filters bookmark. And later we're gonna assign it to this button here. So the clear filters bookmark should have all our filters cleared. So let's just remove all the filters here. So we have the year filter removed, quarter and department removed. So we're viewing all the years, all the quarters, and all the departments. And let's add that bookmark here, and it's going to be clear filters. So this is going to be the clear filters bookmark. However, for that bookmark, we don't want this display to be ticked, because this will make it not apply the visual display state. So this means that it will just be concerned about the filters and not be concerned about whether this filters pane or any object on the screen is viewed or not. It's just going to be concerned about the filters. So we're going to untick this display here, so that it doesn't affect whether the objects here are viewed or not. Because if we have this display ticked here, okay, then at the point of creating the bookmark, if we hide the menu, for example, and then view it, and then clear the filters, this will also view the menu. Okay, like if we hide the menu and if we click on the clear filters, it will also view the menu. It will not only clear the filters, but it will also view the menu. So if we select a filter, we hide, okay, and we click on clear filters, this will also view the menu and clear the filters, which is, we don't want it to view the menu because it's not intended to view the menu. It's just intended to remove the filters. Okay, so we're unticking this data option here, so that when we hide and if we click on clear filters, it will clear the filters, but it will not view the menu. I mean, in this case, by the way, if it views the menu, it will not harm us a lot, because the clear filters button is still inside the menu anyways, right? So when we click on the clear filters button, it will the menu will always be viewed. But technically speaking, the clear filters bookmark should not have anything to do with viewing or hiding the menu. It should be only concerned with clearing the filters. All right, so now that we've created all the bookmarks that we need, let's start assigning them to the different buttons. So we have here the clear filters button. So I'm going to click on it, on this picture here for the clear filters button. And I'm going to go to action. Okay, under the image tab here, I'm going to go to action and I'm going to toggle that on, and there will be a bookmark action, and the bookmark action will be to clear the filters. Okay, so now this clear filters bookmark will be triggered by clicking on that button. And in this case, because we are in the design mode, we need to press and hold Control and click. And as you can see, when we press and hold Control and click on the clear filters button here, the filters are removed. Okay, there's also the hide menu bookmark here, which we're going to assign to this close button. Okay, so we're going to assign that to the close button here. So we're going to click on the close button, and under image here, we're going to go to action. We're going to turn it on, and the action will be a bookmark, and the bookmark will be to hide the menu. So clicking on the close button here, controlling and clicking in our case, because we're in the design mode, will just hide the menu. All right, and then there's the view menu bookmark, which we're gonna assign to this button here, which we need to insert. So we're gonna insert that. I'm gonna insert that. So I created this button actually using Canva as well. So insert an image, okay, and I'm gonna insert this menu button here. So this menu button is simply a burger menu icon with the word menu under it. Okay, so the burger menu icon, as we know, you can create it by just Googling here burger menu icon. If you Google that, you should find it, as you can see here. And I think you can also have it as a text. This is called the hamburger button. Yeah, so I think you should be able to copy it as a text as well if you need it, if you need to. So this is how I created this burger menu icon. I used Canva as well, but you can use other graphic design softwares if you want to. So I just put the burger menu text here and then with menu under it, and that's it. Okay, and I'm gonna assign to that. So this button should view this menu here, right? Or this filters pane. So I'm going to assign viewing the menu to that. So I'm going to go to action here, and it's going to be a bookmark, and the bookmark will be to view the menu. So now if we click on this close button, the menu disappears. If we click on this menu button here, the menu appears, as you can see here. So now we managed to assign all our bookmarks to their respective buttons, and we have our menu system here ready. All right, so now let's talk about creating the background for the dashboard. So here's the file, here's the PowerPoint file that has my color palette. So these are the colors that we chose at the beginning of creating, at the start of creating the dashboard, right? And here's the background created, but I'm just gonna create it again from scratch to show you how I created it. And it's pretty easy. So we're gonna create a new slide here, just a blank slide, and we're gonna start by creating the background here at the back, and we're gonna do that from the color palette that we have. So we're gonna right click here and then format background, and for that it's gonna be a gradient fill, and we're actually gonna have only 3 colors in that gradient. So we're gonna have 3 colors in that gradient. We're gonna start with the blue color, which is this color here on the color palette. So I'm gonna use Microsoft Power Toys here to get the color. All right, to get the hex color of that color, and we're gonna go here. Actually, the color palette, I think it's the hex color is already there, but I'm just gonna paste it here. Okay. And then what's in the middle is going to be the orange one. So this is going to be our orange color here in the middle of the color palette. So I like to start with a dark color and then a lighter color. So actually it needed to be on this one. Sorry. Okay. And so I like to start with the darker color, and then I like to have a lighter color in the middle, and then the darker color again here. So I'm also gonna get the color here, or it's already actually in the color in the color bucket here as well. So it's already there, as you can see. However, we're gonna change the angle here. I think I made the angle, I made it 45 degrees, so we can make it 45 degrees as well. And I think I might have used actually a lighter orange color. So I used this color here. So I actually lightened the orange a bit because this orange was, so I just lightened it like that. I think, and I arrived at the orange. This is how I arrived at the orange color. So I think this looks pretty good. It's similar to what I have here. All right. If you want to get the exact color of the orange color that I used, it's actually, yeah, this is the exact hex color. So we can apply it here if you want to, but you get the idea. I just lightened the orange a bit because the orange was too bright. So this one looks good. You could also lighten it a bit more even. I think, yeah, I mean, you could also make it like that if you want to, but you get the idea. You can make it 45 degrees. Also, you could do 70 degrees. This is pretty good as well. So you can keep on trying until you arrive at something that you like. But this is how I created this gradient background. And now we're also gonna create this shape here, this container shape. All right, so after creating the background, what we need to do is to insert this large container shape here that we have. So this shape here. So this is simply a shape. So we're going to go to insert shapes, and it's going to be a rounded rectangle, or a rectangle with rounded corners here, as you can see. And let's just reduce the rounding here, the curvature of the rounding. And let's just leave a little bit of space on each side here, right? And let's make sure it's in the middle. All right, so you can just keep on experimenting with the size, but I think this looks good. I could also take the exact dimensions of what I created and make the new shape this way, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do it here just by sense. And for the shape format as well, let's make sure to remove the outline of our shape. So no outline, and let's choose a color that is a lighter version of the main color of our dashboard, which is this really light blue here. So this is like a very light sky blue, so we can actually choose our color here. All right, our main color, and then go to more colors, and let's just go a lot lighter like this and click OK. And so now, as you can see here, we've created a lighter version of our main color, which is blue, the main color in this dashboard, or like one of the main colors in the color palette. And let's also give it some depth. So we're going to add some shape effects. We're going to give it a shadow here. All right, so as to give it some depth. And we've created that. Now, the next step is that we need to take a screenshot of our dashboard as well, so that we can align the inner shapes that we have here to that screenshot, and we're going to do that next. Now let's take a screenshot of our dashboard, because it's going to help us align the inner shapes, the container shapes for the different visuals. Let's actually move this menu button a bit to the bottom, because we're going to have a logo here. So this menu button should be a bit at the bottom here, and we're going to create a container shape for it. But to take a screenshot, we're going to use Windows key and Shift and S on our keyboard to take a screenshot. That's one of the many ways, of course, to take a screenshot in Windows 11. All right, so we've now taken a screenshot of our dashboard, and let's go back to PowerPoint, and let's go here to the background that we're creating here, and let's just paste this. But now let's make it a lot more transparent here. So let's make it quite transparent, so that everything is barely visible here. All right. So as you can see here, now the visuals that we have, or the elements that we have on the dashboard, are barely visible. All right. So what we need to do now is let's actually make sure that we have the selection pane on, and this picture is the dashboard screenshot. All right, so this is our dashboard screenshot. So this selection pane allows us to select the different elements, and this is going to be the container shape here. This is the large container shape. We're going to select this large container shape, and actually we're going to copy it. All right, so we can copy, Control C, and then paste, Control V, and create smaller versions of this container shape. And let's just align them to the dashboard screenshot that we have, which we're going to eventually remove actually, but we're just using this screenshot to kind of get a reference of where to put our smaller shapes here. All right, so now we're going to put 4 equal smaller shapes of equal size here, to have them for the 4 visuals that we have. Maybe we could reduce actually the size of the smaller shapes. Maybe you could increase it a bit like this. Okay, so you can keep on making changes or keep on editing until you arrive at the right sizes. Maybe we can just offset this a bit to the top or a bit up, and this one as well. And we're going to make sure as well they have equal spaces between them using the alignment tools. All right, so now let's make sure they are aligned first. Let's go shape format. Let's align them, align top. Make sure that they are aligned. These two as well. Let's make sure that they are aligned to the center. These two as well aligned to the center. So we're just making sure of the alignments. But now, let's make sure they have, we could also align these two actually to the top. So this way they have equal distances. So this shape and this shape have equal distances here, right? There's an equal distance here, and the distance here is equal to the distance here as well, like in the middle of the shapes. All right, and we could also create a smaller shape here for the menu button. All right, just to host this menu button here. Okay, and this shape actually will be in the background of the menu button. And we're going to also have one for the logo here. Same size, and it's going to be aligned to the shape for the menu button. So now we've approximately created these placeholders here for our dashboard. We could just move this one a bit to the right and just edit its dimensions to make sure it's aligned as well with the shapes. All right, so maybe like this, and we can eventually just move this KPI card, so the KPI card can be moved, but the shape of course cannot be moved because it's going to be in the background. It's going to be a picture. All right, so now we've created these, so we have everything in order. We can just select the dashboard screenshot and click delete on our keyboard to delete the screenshot, and now we have the background created. All right, we can always, of course, I mean, this could be not the perfect background. We could always go back or come back and edit that, but now we have something solid to start from. All right, so the next step is to actually export this background. So to do that, I'm gonna select the slide here and press Control Shift and S on my keyboard, and I'm gonna export this. So this is gonna be HR dashboard background. Let's call it that, HR dashboard background. Okay, and the extension that I'm gonna export it as, let's export it as JPEG or a PNG. Let's export it as JPEG, and it's just slide here that we created, just this one. All right, so now we've exported it and we have a picture of that. So if we go to the file where we saved it, we can open this background here. So here is the background here as a picture. All right, the HR dashboard BG file. All right, so now we can go to Power BI. Let's go to our unfinished dashboard. All right, and let's create a background, or put a background on the canvas here. So we're gonna go to canvas background. So let's go to get that from an image, and it's gonna be our HR dashboard background here, and we're gonna open it. And as you can see here, now the background has been applied here to the canvas. So all we need to do now is to make a few changes to our visuals, so as to make them more transparent. Okay, or like make them with no background. So select the visual here, size and style, background, make it off. This one as well. Let's make the background off, and let's fit the visual here to the placeholder. All right, and maybe we would need to increase the size of the placeholders a bit, as they are not hosting the visuals that well. All right, so this is where, you could go back and make some changes to your background. All right, so this actually, there's a bit of trial and error on that one. Here as well, we're gonna remove the background, okay, just to make it with a transparent background. So here's our KPI card as well. Here, this is fitting well, and we could just move this a bit. All right, so as you can see here, it's not perfect because we can always go to PowerPoint and make changes. So actually, I probably made some changes here in PowerPoint. I didn't make them equal size because I have some visuals that are larger and some visuals that are smaller. So we'll actually just remove these placeholders, and I'll just take the ready-made ones that I had on the one that I created before. So there's a bit of trial and error on that one. We could also just make sure that this is this way. All right. So I think this would look good. So now let's export it again. Control Shift S on a keyboard, and let's export it as a JPG file. All right, and let's just on top, and it's just, and let's now try it again. So we're gonna go back again, and this is gonna be our HR dashboard background, and let's just fit these charts here to the backgrounds. So because there are many items here or categories, there's a scrolling bar, which is usually not ideal in a dashboard. I mean, you should try to eliminate scrolling bars as much as possible. Maybe we could reduce the font size here on the x-axis, so we could go to the x-axis maybe and just for the values. No, it's not on the x-axis. I'm sorry, it's actually on the y-axis. So you could reduce the size of the values like this, maybe, but they're gonna become so small. Actually, the lowest size or the smallest size is 8. Let's make them a 9. So accept for now. We'll accept these. Actually, the one that I created also had scrolling bars, but that's fine for now. But you get the idea. It's because there are many departments here. All right, and there are also, so there are many departments. Usually you might not have that many items here on the chart, but you get the idea. So now we've managed to create this. So, and now we're gonna widen this a bit as well, so as to make sure that this fits the placeholder as well, and this one as well. Make some changes here, adjustments, and it's gonna be okay. It's all good now. All right, and now what's remaining is to add the logo here for the company. All right, so the last step here is to insert the logo for Skywave Communications and add it here on the upper left corner. So we're gonna insert here a logo, an image, and this image is gonna be this logo here that we have, and here it is. So now we're just gonna put it here. We're gonna fit it to this placeholder that we have. We could always go back to the background and make some changes if you want to, but you get the idea. It's now fitted here. So now this is the last step for creating our dashboard. As you can see here, we managed to create a pretty decent dashboard here for HR. And as you can see here, the filters are working. So now when we filter for 2016, for example, we get the results for 2016. And we have this close button to close the menu. We have this menu button to open the menu again. We can also clear the filters using this clear filters button. And as you can see here, this is a pretty decent dashboard. Alright guys, so this concludes our video today. So if you liked the video, please make sure to hit that like button and share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with all future videos. Also, if you would be interested in learning how to create dashboards in Power BI step by step, and this includes all the previous all the steps leading to that as well, from importing your data, cleaning your data, creating the data model, creating measures, and everything through a step-by-step course. You can always join our Power BI Dashboards Beginner to Pro course. The link will be down below in the description. You'll also be able to get the final completed version of this dashboard as well as part of the course. All right, so this concludes our video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.